Good afternoon. My name is Amanda, and today I will be explaining the urgent need to solve rapid urbanization and the unfunctionable congestion it creates. My lens solution and my main focus of this presentation is ethics. Our issue at hand is the way urbanization is creating a mass amount of congestion that is not only damaging, but foolishly functionable. As seen on the screen, over 10 million acres of forest were demolished to make room for the mass surplus urbanization has brought. Many people do not usually think about how this deforestation is causing many animals to lose their homes, and that includes over 30,000 varied species. A direct example of urbanization is how people are gaining the homes animals have lost. Congestion plays into this obviously. With the more people, the more crowded and more occupied the streets, sidewalks, houses, and roads are. It is the most prevalent effect of urbanization. These cramped streets are impractical. As the graph may come across as a little confusing, in reminder the gray-blue is the amount of rural areas occupied and the light blue is the number of urban areas occupied, and the dark blue can be ignored as it is simply the overlapped. As easily seen, the gray line or rural area line is declining steadily. Then it is around the period of 1940 to 1950, hits a slight increase, then jumps down and rapidly declines again. If we look at the light blue or the urbanization line, we need to understand that yes, there are a few points where urbanization has paused or decreased slightly. Now with that in mind, we observe how it is constantly moving in an uphill motion. The last thing I would like to mention about this graph is that from as far into the future as we can view from this, urbanization has not surpassed past rural highs. This gives us hope in the possibility that we can achieve better. If we have not yet passed the high of rural areas, that only means we still have a fighting chance of bringing the rate of urbanization down further. By bringing your attention to the ethics of this presentation, we can learn about how the swarms of urbanization are severely damaging. By simply spreading out the clusters of people, we can reduce one of the most prominent issues of cities, congestion. If we stay away from grouping people together, we can greatly decrease the amount of congestion there is in local roads and current large populated areas. With this, we will be able to visibly notice the high taxes decrease in time. As there will be less people bundled in one area, there will not be a need for taxes to be as high as they are now, since there is not one area sourcing. This will not only be beneficial for ordinary citizens, but also growing small businesses. With an increase in businesses, we can expect the economy to flourish and strive. I'll continue to explain the economic effects later in the presentation. Cultural representation has been greatly affected by urbanization as well. It is an area that often gets overlooked, but when we start to look around large cities, we can easily find that there is a much more significant lack of history in them. With the surplus of innovations and technology recently created, we can find that many cities do not get much attention paid to their culture. If we are to effectively put forward the solutions created, we can bring back their history. The grand solution in environmental efforts is to make the infrastructure that already exists work harder and for more of our community. Horizontal sprawl uses greater amounts of resources and is less resource efficient than densifying around already existing infrastructure. Instead of building new transportation hubs, water, electricity, and gas connection, we may modernize current infrastructure and build on top of it. Better manage energy use and viable development, sustainable communities will grow. To bind the city together, we call for the residential development of a city like Dubai's existing reduced central areas. If we add the appropriate amount of natural space and public open space, this would result in even more dynamic and connected communities, a reduction for the need of automobiles, and more affordable housing in the city center, plus many other advantages. For the economic standpoint on urbanization, if we are to put forward the solutions pitched, we can find a thriving economy hidden beneath the spew of overpricing of necessities. By taking the first solution as an example, with less crowding and congestion, we will first find roads we can easily maneuver through and with less rush hour traffic. We can then expect small businesses to rise and succeed better than their current fate with the better community created. When the British government invested £1.2 billion for innovation in rural areas to support the notion of moving out of big countries and cities, they found a thriving, less congested city in their hands. This only shows the success found in these solutions. While the previous slides seem to distance from the original solution, I can tie up the ends. First, we need to start by progressively moving people out of large, overcrowded cities and into the untapped community of rural areas. Secondly, we need to recondition the state of our culture and better our cities with their natural historic aspects. Then, we need to begin the construction of a more breathable environment. With these solutions in place, we will be able to see the drastic improvements they will make.
Local improvements. There is an untapped entrepreneurial spirit associated with living in rural America, said Mark Smither, CSO at Paulson. He said that there is a recent surplus of people moving into rural areas, which only goes to promote our solution. With a lot more people moving to the countryside, there is bound to be innovation and improvements in the analog areas. Global improvements. As of recently, in the city of Lima, Peru, is undergoing protests in the fight for justice of rural areas and cities. Under all things, while the protests are still ongoing, it is a great step forward in attempt of helping the state of the country. Argentina has over 92% of its population in urbanized areas, which in its own is a good thing. With an overall urban area, there is more equality and equalized amount that is sustainable. In our needed solutions, we need to spread the note to all countries. In more places such as the United States, we need to create the equalization that cities like Argentina have. We need to ensure that more people will move into rural areas and the countryside to create that equalization.
This burst of information given out, I can confidently say I firmly believe in the solution my team and I have created. By convincing more citizens to move into rural areas, we can bring a lot more awareness to the need of modernization in the less thought of areas, the rural areas. With an increase of residents in the countryside, we will unintentionally be lowering the taxes of big cities, and this would also allow for more businesses to grow and will allow for a sustainable future. Thank you.